This math summary focuses on decimals and place value. Decimals and fractions go hand in hand. They relate to each other and represent the same information. So the more we focus on one, it's going to help us focus on the other one at the same time. We can use our information and show it in different ways, and that's helpful because we see fractions and decimals in everyday life all of the time. Here you can see I've got 100 little squares, but only part of that is shaded. Just 25 out of the 100 squares are red. Now I can represent that as a fraction. I write 25 out of 100. That top number called the numerator is how many are shaded. The bottom number called the denominator is how many squares there were all together for one complete whole. Now I don't have one complete whole, I've only got 25 out of 100. So I put a 0 in my decimal to say I don't have any complete whole, and then a decimal point to separate the whole from the parts. And then I write 25 because that's how many were shaded in. Now when I come to read that, I need to actually say each number individually, and I say 0.25 moving across as I read the numbers' names. Now when I have a look at 40 out of 100, that's not the complete whole. So as a decimal, I put a 0 to say I don't have one complete 100 out of 100 squares coloured in, and I've got a decimal point separating the whole and the parts, but you'll notice I just have a 4 instead of 40, and that's okay. We don't need that 0 at the end of a decimal. So make a note of that. We need a 0 to say there's no complete wholes at the beginning, but we don't need a 0 at the end. Let's have a look at another example where we have one complete whole and 50 out of 100. Well, we do have a complete whole, so we put a 1 on the whole side, separated by the decimal point, and on the other side are the parts of a whole. There's 50 out of 100, but we only need to write the 5. We don't need the 0 at the end. Now you can see here, sometimes we've got a very small number out of 100. It's just 6. Well, 6 isn't even 10. So notice when I come to write it as a decimal, I remember that and I use 0. 0 needs to be placed very carefully in a decimal. We've got 0 to say not the complete whole, point, that separates whole and parts. Then we have 0 to say not even 10 and just 6 little pieces. And that's important. We need the 0 at the beginning. We need the 0 in the middle. Let's have another look.
In 5 minutes, you've learned something new. Imagine that times 200. All those core concept lessons are on our site right now, and you can grab the link below. Now let's keep going.
2 out of 100. No complete whole, so we put a 0, decimal point, and then not even 10, so another 0 in the middle, and then 2. Now you'll notice we need a 0 at the beginning. We need a 0 in the middle, but we don't need a 0 at the end. And you can see another example here of that where we have 30 out of 100. Well, we have 0 point, we could write 30, 30, or we could put 0.3 and get rid of that 0 and just have 0.3 to represent that fraction. It's all about place value, and decimals are hugely reliant on us understanding the place value of where we place our numbers in a decimal will give it its value or worth. So when we have a look, we break down into the whole, decimal point, and then the parts. The whole numbers are on this side, but what's on the other side in the parts? We're actually dividing our numbers up into tenths and hundredths, and that's really central to writing decimals. You see, if we have 0.35, the 3 is actually representing 3/10, and the 5 is representing 5/100. Here we've got 0.05. Notice that 0 in the middle. We don't have any tenths, but we've got 5/100 because it's 5 out of 100 pieces. Here you can see money, and we use decimals every time we write a money amount. I've got a $5 note, a 50, a 20, and a 5-cent coin. Added together and using our dollar sign, we would write $5.75. Here we've got 5 complete whole and 75 out of 100 for the extra parts or the coins. But as a decimal, we could write 5.75 and we actually read it differently to when it has that dollar amount at the beginning. Here I've got $1.50, so I could write it as $1.50, or I could say 1 complete whole and 50 out of 100 as a fraction, or as a decimal 1.5 because I don't need the 0 at the end. So place value in decimals is hugely important. You need to practice and really think about where you're placing zeros and where you're placing numbers to represent your information correctly.